Hello and welcome to Energy Flow. I am your host, Krystal Visions. Energy Flow is basically just a monthly check-in, a monthly forecast of the collective conscious. We're going to be talking about some of the things you might be experiencing or feeling or processing. So you are not alone. It is all connected, and that's what Energy Flow is all about. So I wanted to start off with some of the things that I have been noticing, that I have been channeling. And what I mean by channeling is essentially some of the things that come to me when I'm in either meditation or contemplation, some of the aspects that come to me in my day-to-day interactions with people that I see as synchronicities as well. So I just want to tap in on some of those channelings and really bring you a collective energy flow so we can all see where we're going together, right? So thank you so much for tuning in again. If I haven't already thanked you. Things have been quite hectic this last month. We've had a lot of cosmic shifts for those who follow astrology, and we've also had a lot of consciousness shifts as well. So what I mean by that is people starting to understand that, the external world is not going to, change unless there is an internal change. So there's a lot of that self-awakening that is actually coming through at this time, which is beautiful. And with that, there's this inability to live someone else's formula. So this is living in authenticity. And that was one of the main messages that I picked up, was living in authenticity. That means we are no longer investing in things that no longer fit within that authenticity. And that means that right now we have the space, we have the time to actually process who we are authentically as well. So it's allowing us the space and the time to do so, or allowing you the power to process it. And this can come along with its ups and downs, So we're examining our attachment to the material world. We're examining our attachment to relationships as well, and what those relationships mean to us, how those relationships fulfill us, what that means for our self-fulfillment, and what that means for our attachment. So a lot of the times, people essentially say detachment is the way. Detachment is a really great way to approach something, or not necessarily having an expectation of the outcome. Detachment is great, but we could even go a step farther and say non-attachment, because sometimes detachment will it assumes that we have already been attached to it, therefore we might go back to it. So non-attachment is also a theme that's coming through for me, practicing non-attachment instead of detachment. Detachment can also mean forcefully pulling yourself out of something, where non-attachment is just creating an energetic boundary around it, maybe saying no, or just going a different path or a different direction from that attachment. And what that looks like in relationships is essentially spending more time to yourself. This is looking at your codependency in the world, and how that codependency affects your authenticity as well, which means that the concept of love or amorous relationships can become a little bit difficult. And this month, the difficulty is in relating while staying completely autonomous or non-attached, and developing this really beautiful sense of the embodiment of love within, instead of relying on the other or another sensory experience to give you that love for you to feel it. So it's cultivating a lot of this love within, and the root of that is your authenticity. So, a lot of the times too, what comes along with authenticity is the realization that your past is not your present or your future. Okay? So it's a challenge because, and it challenges us to live presently, to live in the present moment, and to not necessarily consider the future. Sometimes it's good to have goals or make plans or have some sort of structure or limitations which allow us to function in a healthy way. But focusing on your future in a very attached way will only dismantle some of your authenticity, and sitting in the present will bring that authenticity back. That's one of the lessons that I really picked up on the last 2 weeks and the last month. And the past, I mean, the past is the past, right? So having this new realization, this new narrative in relation to time as well. So we're developing this new narrative in relation to time, and really just taking that in and processing that. And I want you to give yourself space and time to process some of these new narratives, this new information that's coming in, not just from me, but from all of the different sources that you might be absorbing it from as well. And sometimes that can bring upon a depression. So, and I don't mean to laugh. Depression is like a very, people who deal with depression, it's a very heavy aspect. And that depression will come, but will disappear very quickly. It will disappear very quickly when that realization comes through. The past, the perceived aspect of time that I might have wasted, it's neither here nor there. So there's a realization of new responsibility coming in, which is a huge shift, because it means that there's a responsibility to create your own reality, which also, if we have traumatic experiences, or if we've had some aspects that haven't been so pleasant in our past, like all of us have, I think it's good not to sit in those and to repeat those narratives to ourselves, because they only hold us in place. So this is exploring new creative power. This is exploring how to create your own reality. And with that, there are some extreme highs and lows. So you will feel these crazy fluctuations. And that usually it's contractions before a birth. So usually there are highs and lows above a big shift. And that's totally normal. So I want you again, or I urge you, or I could even say, I invite you to take some time to really process where you are and what are some of your new learning modalities about how to harness that inner power, how to sit with yourself when things are difficult, how to bring yourself back to that center of enjoyment and presence. Because when you sit in presence, essentially you're sitting in the enjoyment of life. So this is really finding those modalities or these new learning curves that will help us enjoy our lives more. So with that comes a need to absorb new information, because really when we are born, we're not really set up. Society doesn't necessarily set us up, and there's a lot of different other conditioning factors that don't set us up to have this mindset. So there is a need to absorb new information, and also the need to ground down. And what I mean by that is to stabilize. So make sure you're not taking in a ton of information at a time. Maybe some of these concepts might be overwhelming. Maybe this energy flow is overwhelming. And if it is, I want you to watch the whole video and just process what you can. You can come back to it multiple times. I'm here on YouTube. You can come back to it multiple times and process these aspects bit by bit. So it doesn't have to be one swoop. It doesn't have to be done in a month. It can be done over the course of a year. And quite often it's a lot more comfortable when it is dealt with in increments, or when it's experienced in increments. So yes, there's a need to absorb new information. And there's also this need to adapt to restriction as well. We might be feeling restricted, which is essentially causing us to evolve. So we gotta evolve, we gotta grow. The universe at this point in time is actually pushing a little bit for you to evolve, which might feel uncomfortable, which might bring on a sense of depression, because we might feel hopeless and maybe we are unsure about how to change. But I want you to trust, or I urge you, or I invite you to trust, because it's really guiding you to a very beautiful place. All you have to do at this point in time is to absorb the information and take the cues from the universe and to trust. I know you've probably heard that so many times, and it's probably like just over and over and over again, and it's the same narrative, but that narrative is true. The narrative to trust is truth, okay? So whenever we're feeling like we're scattered or we're starting to have expectations again, trust, right? Just trust. So that means purging fear-based response. Ooh, purging fear-based response. Now that's a heavy one, because we all have these fears that are built out of survival. So these are very ingrained, root-centered, root chakra-based responses. And these could be surrounding finances. These could be surrounding the material world. So purging these fear-based responses. And that usually looks like time as well. Because time and money, which are very horizontal based fear responses, and for many good reasons, they're starting to become less of a fear-based response. There will be less reaction to it, because we are starting to, as a consciousness, as a collective consciousness, we're starting to think about things more on a vertical level. So seeing the bigger picture in regards to financial matters, in regards to time, in regards to our egos, in regards to our sense of self. So we're purging all of that fear-based response, or attempting to, and really getting back into more of a collective sense, or considering getting back into a collective sense. I think that it will take some time. So purging that fear-based response, I want you to maybe do a little bit of research on your own about how you can do that, because it looks different for everybody, because everybody's fears are different based on their programming, based on what they've really absorbed from society. So I just really, it's very important for you to take the time to really realize where those fears lie and how to transmute them. Because as soon as you transmute that fear, everything you want is on the other side of it. So, and what you want, right? Let's talk about material aspects, because wanting material aspects, there's not a lot of joy in that anymore. We're looking for joy. We're looking for peace. We're looking for happiness. It's no longer about the item, the car, the house, the whatever. And if it is, I invite you to switch that narrative and look at some of the emotions and some of the physical states that you prefer. And that's where your consciousness will shift to. Not the material thing, not the having, because everything is impermanent, but emotion and responding to those emotions and feeling those emotions and considering your peace and ease and joy. Those are the things consciously, collectively, that matter. So in order for us to reach those points, we have to dissolve some of the fear-based response. And yes, that looks like switching some of the systems that are involved in our current state, in our current world, but it can start internally first. If we are looking for an external shift first, you know, that's an expectation. That's an expectation. And when we talked about some things earlier in this energy flow, we spoke about how expectations sort of kill off you living authentically. So the movement from the material to the spiritual, the horizontal to the vertical, and hopefully you understand that. I think one of the things too that I have channeled this last little while is, if you are a bird or a dragon or something that flies in the sky, you don't see the little itty bitty mundane things happening on the ground. You stay within this realm where you can move freely. So I invite you to find those realms, those circles, those communities, those spaces that you can move freely in. Yeah, that's very important. And through that, there will be unexpected balance in the strangest of ways. Things will show up for you this month in ways that you never thought possible. This looks like another chance or another opening to heal or another opportunity that you never thought you had. This also looks like self-healing, healing of the physical body. And that comes from honest self-scrutiny. I don't want to say scrutiny. We don't need to scrutinize. This is honest self-observation. This is also what you're putting into your body, what you're consuming. And that means visual, like any sensory aspects, what you're consuming with your senses. This is release of vice, because again, vice is expectation. If I use this or if I engage in this, it will give me something. That's expectation. So observation of vice, right? And observation of attachment as well is one of the largest things that is coming through this month. So one of the cards that I pulled before I did this video, it was the Lover's card. So this is about co-creation. This is about co-connection. And the Lover's card is truly about finding the beauty way. So finding those joys, those beautiful aspects of life. And sometimes it is very difficult when we are going through heavy changes, heavy realizations, when we are struggling with vice, when we are struggling with being honest with ourselves, when we are going through those options, I invite you to say thank you to those feelings of struggle, because what they're going to do in the long term is they're going to heal you. And they're also going to give you unexpected balance on the other end of that. But there is some work that has to be done with that. I'm sure you can hear my dog just creeping up on me right now. But hopefully all of this made sense, and hopefully this was a beautiful energy flow. I love flowing along with you. Most of my energy flows will be 15 to 20 minutes. This one's a little bit longer. Please like, subscribe, do the bell, do the thing, do all of the things that that this platform has to offer. Let me know if you like me on YouTube. YouTube is cool. I haven't been on YouTube in a while, so I'm back. I'm also going to be doing some stuff on TikTok and Instagram as usual. Krystal with a K _visions. You know where to find me on Instagram and TikTok, same thing. So thanks again for all of this, and yeah. I'm excited to flow with you next month. So again, it's every month on the 1st. Every month on the 1st. Okay, bye.